do
Hey,
that.
hey, hey, I think we are live. So if you're watching the replay, I'm here with Patricia, aka Goss Design. If you have caught one of our live streams before, then you already know what this girl chat is about. But in case you are new to me or new to this live stream, I just want to share with you kind of what we do during this time. So basically, it's just we decided that we have these like really in-depth girl talks that sometimes snatch our engines, sometimes have us in tears, have us laughing in stitches, and we thought that it would be really fantastic to do that and share it with other ladies who might be interested. So Patricia, aka Guys Design, is a wife. She is a professor. She is a nurse, a YouTuber, an influencer, an entrepreneur. She's all the things. We actually met on YouTube. I don't know how many years ago at this point, and so we're just here to do our live chat. So we always are open to taking questions and all of that. So yes. Oh hey, Caribbean Curls, how are you? Listen, Caribbean Curls be on that clock. Like, where are they? We apologize if we were a little delayed. We had listen, y'all. We have a little pre-show. You know how sometimes when people were. I won't speak for Patricia. I'm gonna speak for myself. When I was less saved, and we used to go to the discotheque. No, I'm just joking. We used to have what was called like a pre-turn up. And so what happens sometimes is Patricia and I, because we are genuinely friends, we have to have a little pre-conversation of girl time, a pre and a post. Y'all don't even before we come on here. So we missed y'all and we're back this week. So share this with a girlfriend. Let her know, come on over, get her life together. And Patricia, you want to say hey to the ladies?
Hi everyone. So glad to be back here again after we missed last week.
Yes.
But we're back this week. Life happens, but this has just been just a pleasure and a joy for me personally, and so it's good to be back again.
Yes, yes. I'm glad to have you back. Some Jean says, let's say, listen. It's just a phrase I say for when I wasn't acting right, when I was young and dumb, and doing not so ladylike things. So that's my phrase. Okay, so Patricia, what do you want to talk about today? I know the last time we left off, we were talking about so much. Y'all, our conversations are always super random. So if you have questions, you can drop them in the chat. We'll talk about that. But I think one of the questions that we said we would save for the next session was someone asked us about a woman who was fussing all the time
Mm.
in her communication and like what we thought about that. I don't remember the details exactly, but I think it was about like a woman who was just kind of fussing and nagging all the time. So, do you have any thoughts about that?
Um, I do. So I read a book called The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz a few years ago that really got me together on a lot of things in my life. And so the four agreements that he believes that we should live our life by is don't take things personally, don't make assumptions, be impeccable with your word, and always do your best. And that impeccable with your word really snatched me a little bit, and I was really drawn to it. And I feel like as women in particular, we need to be impeccable with our word. We can't just say anything. And nagging is a part of it. What I say is you need to empower people to do things and not demand or nag them to do it. Your words should be empowering and uplifting, even if they're a little tough. You know what I mean? My sister likes to say I'm a master of tough love, like in the way that I say things, because you can be honest, but still loving. And to me, nagging is negative. It's demeaning. It's annoying. And it doesn't draw light or positive energy, in my opinion. And so I think reading that book helped me to understand even further the power of my words in communication specifically, and what words say about me and what words really can impact change or influence change, and encourage people to either do what, and it's gonna sound bad, do what I want them to do or do what they're supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? And so don't nag, ladies. It's not it's not cute.
No,
It's not cute, in my opinion.
not at all. And I think you said something so important when you were like to influence people to do either what you want them to do or what they're supposed to do. And I think
Mhm.
that's the key, that when I hear about a woman that has to nag or scream and yell or demand to get her way, that lets me know that she doesn't know how to leverage her feminine influence, because when
Mhm.
you know that your authority is influential authority, then you know how to use your words to hold people accountable. It's not about manipulation. It's not even about getting your way, but it's about influencing them to be the best version of themselves, or who God has called them to be, or what they said they were going to do, and hold them to that word. And there's a way to do that without beating people over the head. So I think when you use that phrase like influence, like it really, like I was like, that's exactly what it is. How do you lead when you're not in charge? Like there's a book, I think it's called that. It's called How to Lead When You're Not in Charge. I haven't read it, but it's basically about influence, right? Like how do you, if you're at work and, the boss is over here, but you need to get something done with your peers and you don't have the positional authority, how do you still lead without being in charge? And so when I hear about a woman nagging or demanding respect or demanding anything, it's just a clear indication that she doesn't know how to leverage her influence. Whereas when you are able to communicate well as a woman, I think you command
Yes.
respect versus demand.
Demand. Demand. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, oh, Miss Carter is here. Hello. Jean says, "Oh, I know. I used to use that phrase before. Yes, less saved. Okay."
The phrase I use is when I didn't know Jesus for real. That's what I say.
Or like when I really didn't knowing, like I knew of him, but I didn't like know him. You know what I'm saying? But listen, for the most part, for the most part, yeah, most part, that's part of my life is over. Okay. Oh my goodness. So yes. So what else, girl? What's been going on? I mean, we had a little pre-chat. Listen, I got a lot of great feedback on my video, ladies. I know we've talked a lot about like feminine and stuff like that. So I did a video that shared all of my books and resources and all of that. So, Patricia, you have a book club on your channel. That's right.
Mhm. And can I just say though, like, this work of self development is not one that ends.
Journey.
And it doesn't begin and end with therapy, because I think that's because you do have a community of people that will go, right? We still got to work on the ones that don't,
Mhm.
but we have a community of those that will go. But still, when you get off of that couch, there's still work to be done.
Yeah.
And that's when the journaling comes into play. That's when getting your spiritual life together, whatever that means for you, comes into play. That's when reading these books, and when you have these resources like Evelyn's video that will lead you to these books that will help you to continue that work. And that's what I guess having reading a book on my channel really, or at least highlighting one at the time, is important for me, because I think it helps to encourage people to continue that work, that it doesn't end, and that at any point you should be reading something that's for you, right? That'll help you to be more feminine, or help you to be more vulnerable, or help you to be more brave or confident, or whatever your issue is, or the thing that you need to work on is. You know what I mean? It doesn't. It doesn't stop. It continues. Like you pick something up and you're just like you work on it and then you keep moving. You're like, ooh, that's good. I need a little bit of that, and then you add that to to the pot, and then growing that too, and you constantly become a better person. And slowly but surely, things start happening in your life, and you're treating those things differently, and you're treating people differently. You're treating yourself differently because of the work that you've done. So yeah, y'all, it doesn't stop.
It does.
It does not stop.
The phrase that, healing, or like you said, personal development is not an end goal, right? It's not a, oh, I'm gonna get there and then I'm just gonna be able to coast and I won't have any more work to do. Like that, nothing in our life is that way. And so I think you're right. I was talking to a potential client, I think it was last week or the week before, who's now a client, but we were talking about, like, therapy, is great, but then it was like, after, depending on the kind of therapist you've had, like after sitting on the couch and sharing and digging up the things, then what, right? And so some therapists give you work, some don't, and so it's like there is other support that you need in addition to that. Like, I think it's a fantastic resource, but to your point, you need the community, you need the conversation, you need a discussion. I'm in a Facebook group right now that has nothing to do with like journey. It's all about like social media, right? And a girl put this at the bottom of her post and it snatched me bald. Okay, like, this is a wig, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not a wig, but it snatched me bald. And we're in this challenge about being consistent, right? Because this consistency is a muscle. And so one of the things she was talking about, she was just saying, this has really been stretching me. And she said, and some days I want to give up. She was like, but I realize, as inconvenient as it is, it's only inconvenient to my feelings, not to my goals.
Woo!
Who snatched me? Sis said, it's only inconvenient to my feelings, not to my goals. And that got me. It got me together. And so my point is, even years of self development, therapy, doing the work, still something came through and was like, here's your next piece of the journey. Like, and just it snatched me. So Jean says, I read this phrase in a book this week: you can be right but wrong at the top of your voice.
Mm.
Absolutely. I started reading a book a couple years ago that said you can be right or you can be married.
Hmm.
And it was from a guy who was divorced, and he was basically saying, to your point, Gene, like, you can be right and loud and wrong at the same time.
Hmm.
Trisha, what's your take on that?
I might have said this already, and stop me if I already did, but I remember. Can I use this example? Yeah, I'll just use it. So I remember when I was a teenager. We all go through our little rough patch with our mothers in particular, and so I was in that little rough patch, and my mother said something to me or did something that just was not right. That was wrong, and but she was in in her experience reacting to me in a certain way. So she was just cold, she was distant, and that was the way she chose to deal with the situation at the time. And so things were weird between us. And so I was having a conversation with my dad about it, and I was like, Dad, like, she's wrong, and that's not the way it's supposed to be, and whatever. And my dad said, sometimes the relationship is more important than being right. And at like 16, it hit me then, but it has continued to, like, it literally has changed my thought about relationships in general, um, and how I look at things. You know what I mean? And I really thank my dad for that. I really thank my dad for that, because we have to keep those things in mind, that it's not, a relationship is not self-serving in its core. It's not. Um, and so we can't be more concerned about our rightness, more concerned about our ego and our pride than we are about our fellow man. It's crazy. It's crazy. I'm just gonna bring up the Bible because that's what I know. But Christ, when he came, people were like, "Oh, what should we do? What should we do? What should we do?" Two things he said: love God and love your fellow man. And it still sounds very simple, but that second one, boy,
Woo!
it's real tough. That second one, there are a lot of things you will put aside, including your ego, including being right, including feeling good about yourself, that you will put aside, should put aside for your fellow man. And it's only then that you really understand and are able to exemplify Christ's love. Um, so yeah, those are my thoughts on that.
Listen, I think I had to learn that reconciliation over resolution later in life. Like I feel like I'm fresh out of learning that one, you know. I've definitely
Mm-hmm.
had situations where I was just like, well, if we can't reach a resolution, then this is just what it is. And gave up the relationship because I was like, this issue needs to be solved. And I'm human and flawed, and other people are human and flawed, and sometimes we make really, really, really bad decisions unintentionally. And it's like if the chopping block is once you do this, that's it, we will forever be lonely. um John says you can be right by yourself. Okay, you can be right by yourself. And I mean, I have had those situations where I was right and right and wrong at the same time, and look back and was like, wow, I lost that whole connection because I was so bent on being right.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I think that's a huge point there. So girl, listen.
The thing is that the thing about reconciliation, I have to have an honest moment with myself. Is I that muscle was weak for me. And it's problematic when you get into a long term relationship like marriage, because prior to marriage, it was like, oh, she don't work for me, or we just not on the same wavelength, or she about that drama, I'm not about that mess. You know what I mean? It just doesn't work. Just cut, snip, 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 and we're done. But what about if you have to wake up to him every morning? Like, so that reconciliation muscle, because when you're in a relationship, especially as intimate as marriage, you guys are going to disappoint each other, right? Somebody about to mess up, even if they forgot the extra onions in your burger, or they, didn't clean the bathroom the way, like whatever it is, big or small, you get mad about something. And that was a weak muscle for me, because I can't cut someone off because they didn't wash the dishes. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can't divorce you because, you know what I mean? So that is, I would challenge us not to be so quick to cut people off, and then realize that if you're constantly, I mean, there's some trite people out there. Like, I get it. There's some trauma and some energies that you just should, spirits you should just not be around. Um, but it can't be everybody though.
Like, what's
Like,
the denominator here? Like, what's the common theme? You know what I'm saying?
it can't be everybody. So let's look inward. Like, what is it about me that keeps attracting this?
Yeah.
Or what is it about me that that says this type of treatment is okay? Whatever it is, turn inward to just do some personal work. Maybe it's not them. Maybe it's you.
I mean, I'm personally very attacked at the moment and triggered by your commentary. Because I will say, and y'all, this is why I say these conversations are real, because I will say that in my life right now, reconciliation is a weak muscle. That I'm
Mm.
consciously aware here that reconciliation over resolution, and in my behavior, I'm like, nah, oh, I was right. No. And so I'm not gonna lie, I'm feeling very attacked, triggered, whatever the word is, snatched, not intentionally, but whatever in love. Sometimes people put medicine in the conversation to make his way, even though they're not trying to tell you directly. I feel right now, but you know but this is transparent, right? So like I think that's why I enjoy our conversation so much, because and I like this format because I don't feel like you and I are trying to come from the angle of we have it all figured out, or we know all, or we are whatever. Is really like two girls who have done and are doing the work, you know what I mean? And so I can honestly say, yeah, my reconciliation muscle is trash right now. I mean, in dating, it was like, oh, I know you're gonna come back, but I don't do seconds. In friendships, it's like, oh, if you cross that line, then we had bigger issues, whatever, and you get to stay over there and on to the next. And for me, I will say, yeah, right now, that's the weak muscle. That's the weak muscle. So I have been gathered effectively in this moment. Thank you for that.
You know what I had to think of? Like, what if God was like me? Like, just so quick to cut me off or other people off. Like,
We'll be dead.
what? What? Like,
I feel like he on the verge of it now. Like I said, I'm gonna kill all of y'all, but y'all trying me. You know what I'm saying? Like y'all are trying me.
seriously. And it's like, man, if I'm supposed to be like him, that means I should be forgiving some folks. Like, really. And not just forgive, but I'm gonna remember what you know what I'm saying, and constantly bring it up, but like literally, like wash it away like it is no more and start over. Like that's why, it's crazy. He's Thank God that God is who He is and He's not me, or He's not like me. You know what I'm saying? Because while we lose patience, He never does, and He affords us grace and mercy. So we should be able to do that for our fellow person. That's not to say that you accept any and every treatment, because that's not what it is. But at the same time, um, cut people some slack. People are human. They're gonna mess up. They might forget your birthday. They might not realize how important something was to you. And if they knew, they would have made a bigger deal out of it. Like, allow people to make mistakes, and to allow for your love not to be so conditional,
Mm-hmm.
and give people that room to be themselves and to make mistakes without compromising the whole thing. You know,
No, you're right. I think my pastor once said, he was like, that forgiveness part, people tell you all the time to forgive and all of that. He was like, if you're trying to do that in your human strength alone, you're not gonna make it. Like if you don't have Jesus, if you don't have God, if you don't have the Holy Spirit, like you will be incapable of living that out. It will wear you out. It will run you ragged. And so like I've really like in those moments where I'm trying to work on not being like, but I say it when I say it. You know what I'm saying? When I'm trying not to be like that, it's really like that's Evelyn in her humanness. I got to tap into something stronger, something more forgiving, something more loving, and be like, all right, let me get it together. You know what I mean? Miss Carter says, no, please don't cut me off. God, listen. I I'm telling you, I do not want to be in this world if I don't have God. Like I don't listen, I don't know how people do it. And that's not a judgment. I'm just really like, it's a mess out here and I don't know how people do it. So, girl, I feel you. Listen.
I agree.
Patricia,
Hmm.
chat it. I need to go get my charger because my computer's on 27%. So you chat. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay.
So, if you guys have any questions, anything you guys want us to address or talk about, then put the questions in the chat box or whatever. That way we can talk about it. You guys know we like to address your questions, and you guys lead the conversation in a lot of ways. So if you have anything that you want us to address that we've touched on before or that we haven't touched on yet, love, relationship, femininity, womanhood, business strategy, that's something we can both speak to. Yeah, we're here to do that. So any questions that you got, leave them down below. I have YouTube pulled up here myself so I can see
Almost back.
if there's anything. I'm just letting them know that they can ask questions if they have any, or suggest topics that they want us to touch on. Let's see. I think I heard something here. Let's see. Um, Miss Carter, I don't usually hold grudges. I can forgive pretty easily, but there's one situation I'm holding on to. I don't know how to let it go. Hmm. Why do you think you're having issues, Miss Carter, with letting this one in particular go? What about it is triggering, or what's holding you about it? Can we talk about that? Is that okay? You got your charger?
And I'm a little out of breath because I'm out of shape because I ran up and down the steps. So I'm downstairs today. I'm not in my office. So
Hmm. I was gonna say, that doesn't look like. Oh, my phone just
you
died.
can resume the current broadcast. Here we go. All right. So, hi, Deidre. So, okay, you were answering Miss Carter's question, or Miss Carter, we were going to ask you for a little bit more details. I know Patricia was kind of wanted to dig in with you a little bit.
Yes, yes.
Let us
I
know in the chat.
I wanted to ask her, what was it about um this grudge in particular? Like, what's triggering about it, or why does she feel like she's holding on to this one in particular? Since it's so easy or it's easier for her to forgive, or she tries to in general, but there's something about this one that's harder this time.
Yeah, I will say while we're waiting on her to respond, I know my experience with that where some things I'm like, no biggie, and then some things are like knocking the wind out of me is either the transgression, if you will, hurt a lot more than some of them. And so sometimes it's taking me the deeper the hurt, um, or the more hurtful of whatever happened, it took me a lot longer. Or if it's somebody that I thought would never, you know, be able to hurt me that way, that has taken me substantially longer. I had a good friend and we were like sisters for probably 13, 14 years, and then she just like ghosted on me. And I'd never heard from her again. And so I remember that one being like almost worse than like breaking up with a significant other, you know what I mean? Because it was so um like it would call me by surprise. When you have somebody that's that close to you, you're like, oh, you think, oh, they'll be in your life forever. The way it was done. And so, I mean, I don't know, Miss Carter, if that's been your experience, that maybe it was somebody that you thought probably couldn't hurt you to that level, or that it was a situation maybe that, hurt you in a place that might have already been wounded, um,
Mm.
or a combination of both. And so sometimes it's like you have to heal two separate things at the same time. So, for example, when my father passed away, my therapist was like, "You're gonna," and I was only 24. So my therapist was like, "You got two wounds to heal. You're going to have to grieve the physical loss of your father, and you're going to have to grieve the relationship that y'all never had, like that relationship that we never had." So I was grieving two things at the same time. And I didn't even realize that that was something I was going to have to grieve, right? So whether it was him meeting my children one day or walking me down the aisle or something like that. So it may be something, I'm not sure, that it may have multifacets and is more than just forgiving the person, but there may be something else there. Um, Okay, she says, let me add this to the broadcast. Well, it was a family member so disrespectful to my mother. It came from a person that my family has sacrificed so much to health. My mom has let it go, but I can't. Mm. Patricia, I know that you have a muscle in you that if people come for people that you love, it ain't what they want. So, do you want to you want to hop it?
Ugh. So yes, that is a definitely a pet peeve of mine, and I'm really protective over my family in particular, but people that I love, and I'm also very loyal. And there's something in me that hates seeing people be mistreated. Um, like I was that little girl, even in class. Like if it wasn't my turn to be picked on, but somebody else was being picked on, I would jump in. Like, don't talk to them like that, and whatever. And then like you can come over and sit over here if it was at the lunch table or whatever. Like I hate it when I tell you seeing from a kid seeing people being mistreated. So I feel you, um, but still being able to separate, again, kind of like that book I was talking about earlier, not taking things personally, and it talks about internalizing things, being able to separate a situation from yourself, without assigning emotion to it, and therefore not reacting. Understanding that that person is, acting and reacting and working within their own worldview, their understanding, their knowledge, their experience up until that point, and their trauma. And that has nothing to do with you. That has nothing to do with your mom. That has everything to do with them. And so being a little bit more empathetic because you understand who you are and your own trauma, and that sometimes you can act out of character and out of hand and out of line. And forgiving um, that humanness in them that is capable of making a mistake at the same time. That does not mean that you need to associate or allow that person to cross boundaries in your life or your loved one's lives, for that matter. But at the same time, you still have to have the heart to forgive. That's not just for them, it's really for you. Release that person of that emotion and that negativity from you. Just release it. You don't need it. There's nothing's going on in the world. There's nothing happening, that can come and happen in your life. You don't need to take on extra stuff. So that would be my advice to her.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And if there's anything I could add to that, and I don't know why this kind of popped into my head, is I'd be curious, and this is a rhetorical question for you, Miss Carter. If you were not, I think the phrase I'm looking for, if you didn't approve of the level of sacrifice that your family made for this person,
Mm-hmm.
because if you didn't, well, let me say this. It's a very small statement that I'm reading, so I'm really trying to tread lightly here. But it almost is. There's a little air of we did all this for you, and I can't believe you did fill in the blank, right? And my experience, my own experience, and seeing other people's experiences, that there's two parts, which is I can't believe you did this, but then there's also some um like you owe us. We did this for you, and this is how you act, and that's largely conditional. Or maybe you didn't agree with the way that your mother and your family sacrificed for this person, and you were thinking, how could you? Um, and so that's what I mean. Where there may be two things to reconcile, that you may have to let go of the fact that maybe you're, and this is only if this is applicable, right? Then maybe you need to reconcile. Yep, we sacrificed, or my family or my parents sacrificed for this person at this level, and I wasn't a fan of it. And now also this person disrespected my mother, and I'm not okay with that. And I will say this, I think about this. unfortunately, in my lifetime, I've disrespected my own mother.
Mhm.
Said something out of pocket, said something slick, you know. And so if me being of her womb can do the same, you know what I mean? And I will say, I remember there was a family that my mother was very generous to, substantially generous to. I remember growing up, and was always, you know, there for them in a multitude of ways. And I remember, you know, that she had supported them in a way that I thought was a little bit much. And then, you know, financially, and then they, without paying her back, were like taking trips to Jamaica, right? And I remember now my mother, I was more angry than she was. She was angry and she got over it, but it took me years to be like, I can't believe you gave them X, Y, and Z and they did this or whatever. So I don't want to superimpose my experience on you, but if that's something that resonates with you, it might be two different things. And I would even go as far to say maybe have a conversation with your mother and ask her how she was able to let it go, since she was the one that was disrespected. And sometimes getting the person who has been able to, you know, the person who was offended, if they've been able to let it go, getting their perspective, and maybe it'll shed some insight. Listen, mamas be wise. They not always right, but they be wise. So I hope that that's helpful. What else? Did I miss anything while I was gone with my charger situation?
I don't think so. No, I was just talking about asking questions and putting them in the chat.
Yes, 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 yes.
Hey, 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 Miss Feminine Success is here.
Hey, y'all. Oh, listen, ladies. Okay, okay. Let me tell you about feminine success. If you watch my last video, okay. First of all, Patricia meet Yaya, Yaya meet Patricia,
Yeah,
each other.
yeah.
When I did my video about the people who helped me like journey back to my embrace and enhance my femininity, one of the books I talked about was Feminine Success. That's the author in the live stream. And she has a YouTube channel where she does videos, she does live streams on Instagram. And I've taken her programs, and I will tell you, um, I was having a conversation with somebody in the chat about femininity on that video, and they were asking me if I had checked out a certain YouTuber, and I was like, you know, do they go deep? And she was like, nah, this person is like, you know, skin level, right? Um, and so I was just saying that, you know, in that video, that what Yaya has helped me see is that femininity is more than just the way you look, right? Patricia and I have talked about this. It goes deeper. It starts from the inside. So, ladies, that's welcome Yaya to the chat. So,
There you
I need to introduce y'all like offline so that y'all can meet.
That'll be good.
She's married. She is a mother of four. She homeschools all four of her children.
Yes.
Listen,
Yes.
guys. What else, y'all? What questions? Miss Carter said, "Wow, I think you might be right. I definitely was not a fan of the sacrifices we made to help them, and I will ask my mom how she got over it. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know why I knew that, because I think maybe because I've lived that it's like, or even it doesn't even have to be, you know, your mom, a friend. It's like I've had friends where people have done something to them, and I was like, that is absolutely not okay. But what I realized is I was superimposing my boundaries and my standards on them.
Mhm.
Something that may be a level 10 to me, maybe a level 4 to them. Yeah, they don't like it, but it's not nearly as intense as your own personal. So I'm glad that that was helpful. But I've lived that, and I realized that I was taking on their offense as my own, and that can
Mhm.
get a little unhealthy. So knowing that you can be upset with them, um, and being offended, but also letting know, but that's the I don't want to say that's their battle to fight, because it kind of sounds harsh. But you know what I'm saying? Like if mother has let it go and she was the one that was offended, have a conversation and be like, hey mom, I'm having a really hard time letting it go, and see how I can go from there. So Yes. What else, ladies? Yes. I'm gonna call her Yaya because I know her name, but she was like so true. Different people, different boundaries. Very good point. Yeah, like I think Patricia, I think you and I were talking about this once. Like my number one pet peeve in life is if you lie to me. I mean, it will send me if you lie to me. Whereas some people they don't like to be lied to, but that may be like number two or three, right?
Hmm.
Some people are like, don't be late. It sends them, right? Like, and I'm like, I don't like it when you late, but don't really send me. You know what I'm saying? So,
For me, is if you don't got my back.
mm,
You don't got my back.
mm,
I don't like lying. Don't get me wrong.
mhm,
But if you claim to be part of my life and there is no sense of loyalty, I find it very problematic.
mhm,
That's my thing now.
mhm.
That's
Patricia, I don't know how to block this person. I don't know. I don't know the functions to block it, but it's getting on my nerves.
Let me see if I can. Oh, I was able to do it, but I don't know if you see the little three dots. Well, it's hidden on my end, but I don't know if it'll be hidden on
Oh,
your end.
I'm not on YouTube, so I'm doing it through that. Anyway, I'm gonna let them distract us. We must be doing something right. We got some trolls. Okay. I'm saying? So there's that. I'm gonna try to pull it up on my phone and see if I can distract. I mean if I can block them. So
Yeah, it's
yeah, I
hidden.
mean the different boundaries thing, it's like really, really important to know. Here we go. There we go. Done.
Just like you love on people in different ways, different people need different boundaries. There's certain people that would never cross certain things, and you have other people that just leaping over the boundaries all the time, and you have to treat them differently. You know what I mean?
I mean it's like the classic cliche different strokes for different folks.
Hmm.
Yeah, like I have a friend who's very similar to you that she's like, if you don't have my back, like I just like she just it just will send her a friend, a significant other, a boss.
Hmm.
Mine's is if you lie to me. Don't like you. I don't care how small it is. Just don't lie to me. Don't do it. Anyway, so
Yeah.
this is random. Y'all, do y'all have any like things that are like the top of your list that you're just like I cannot and I will not deal?
You know what? It has to do with my upbringing in that, when we were younger, we lived in an area town that was struggling. You know what I'm saying? And so there was a lot of gangs and things like that. And so everybody was associated in forms of groups and like who you pledge your allegiance to. You know what I'm saying? And these people will ride or die. They had your back. Like, even if you weren't associated with them, it was just the culture. So that just kind of, and not only that, I grew up in a family like that. Family first. Family above all. Like you have your family's back. So it was sort of reinforced in my family environment too. And just growing up, that's just been my thing. Like if you call me friend, you better have my back. And I still had to fight that because that is an area that not everybody understands in the same way and treats the same way. But when I tell you my like have my back standards are like way up here, and constantly have to understand that okay, it's not that this person doesn't appreciate me, it's not that this person doesn't love me, but they just don't value loyalty
Right.
the way I do.
Or maybe they don't understand it in the same way. Right.
Exactly.
Because I would say this, like maybe we should have an offline conversation so I can know. Because listen, I don't want to like not meet the expectation because I know for me, my family isn't super tight, and so
Mhm.
we didn't have that reinforcement of like family first, family above all, right? And
Mhm.
so sometimes that's I'm loyal to my friends, or at least I believe so, but I maybe not to the same level as someone who has grown up in that environment. But I was in an environment where like you always tell the truth, no matter what.
Mm.
Sometimes I have to realize that my level of truth telling sometimes can be a little direct, harsh, you know what I'm saying? A little rough around the edges, you know what I'm saying? And I have to learn because I'm just like, but I will tell you the truth. Like, I'm the person who will risk losing the friendship over lying to you. That I
Mm,
tell you the truth and risk losing you than for you to ever be able to call me a liar. So
mhm,
to your point, like I think this is important. Like when we were talking about, the woman who was, we were talking about the question about the woman who was nagging and yelling and all that. Like, but being able to know that about yourself and then communicate that to the relationship in your life and just saying, hey, I don't know if you know this about me, but like this is not my thing. Um,
mhm.
and what does that mean to you? So I am a like if y'all if Patricia and I were having an offline conversation, like at the after party, and I was like, okay, this is what I mean by not lying to me. I'd be like, even if it hurts me to my core, like if you know it's going to break me down, tell me anyway.
Mhm.
Right. And so now she goes, oh, you would be able to go, oh, she means like lay it out raw. Whereas if you were saying, okay, Evelyn, let me explain to you what I mean by loyalty, you would say, that was your cue.
Oh, okay. Um, I would say, I would say people should be um, you should be uncomfortable with people speaking negatively about me around you. That's what I would say. And in my opinion, because I've had conversations with honesty people
Mhm.
where it's like, what if it clashes? You know what I mean? Like, what if they're saying something true about you that's a negative or a flaw or whatever? And but I think loyalty doesn't have to be dishonest.
Does
It doesn't have to be. It can be like, y'all know that's my girl, so whatever. She hot mess sometimes, but I love her still. So let's skip this subject. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't have to be like, no, she ain't like that. Y'all want to fight? Like it's not that. It doesn't have to be that. But it can just be not entertaining a situation if that and it sometimes can involve telling me the truth. Like if I'm about to go out somewhere and I don't look a certain way, like listen, I love you, girl. I have to tell you the truth. I want you to look good, um, and that don't look right. To me, that's still being loyal to me because you could be like,
you like it? I love it.
you like it, I love it. Bye. Let me know how it worked out. Yeah, yeah.
Um,
So that is, yeah. I have another thing, and I'm not saying that you have to sing my praises. That's not what loyalty is to me. But literally, have my back. I should not question your allegiance. I know that sounds dramatic, but that's just really because it's like in the world, you just don't know who's on your team. Sometimes you don't know who's on your camp, and I just can't be bothered with people who aren't. I just can't.
mm-hmm. No,
I can't.
you're right though, because I remember being in a situation. So like now I totally understand, and I feel like I'm in agreement with you about loyalty. Now that I have a clear view, I remember being working a job, and I remember there was a girl that I was really good friends with at work. As much as you can be at work, and
Yeah.
so I remember her like coming to me and telling me things that people were saying about me to her, and she was telling me, and I finally was like, so let me get this straight. How is it that they
Hmm.
feel so comfortable saying that level of things about me to you and you're supposed to be my friend unless you're either presenting yourself in a way that you're not my friend or you're
Hmm.
participating or some variation thereof, right? And so to your point, I think two things can be true. I can be loyal and honest and can say, I think it's about intent. I'm not going to engage in the conversation, even if I can acknowledge that that's true. It's like such and such is always late, girl. I know. However, I be late sometimes too. Moving on, right? I think it's about intent. Deidre says, "Let me move this." She says, "Can I read this, Lord?" Okay. I grew up with the reinforcement of family is everything. However, I've learned the difference between family and relatives. Some people in my family I'm just related to, but we're not necessarily family.
Mm.
Patricia, do you want to speak to that?
Um, yes. I have family and then I have family. And that is it. And the only thing that separates us is blood. Like, really. Those people, exist. I have a group of six of us, 6 of us, 7 of us, that I call my tribe. And it's a group of men and women. We are all accountability. The men are accountability partners to each other. The women are accounting partners to each other. We try to meet up twice a year. We're constantly on video chat, like earlier today, just checking in with each other. Somebody had a baby yesterday. Constantly checking in with each other, and these are my like you. There's nothing for them that I wouldn't do. You know what I'm saying? Last week I traveled, for one of them because they were having difficulty. And so these are my family, and I'm not connected by blood to any of them. We all come from different parts, from California, literally from California to New York, different parts of the world that we met together at one point in our lives and have decided to make this sort of this commitment to each other, this covenant to each other. And so, yeah, they're not blood, but the principle remains the same in this environment, because you can't. What I'm saying? I'm very aware of if there's anybody who's aware of each other's flaws, it's this group, right? But at the end of the day, we have each other's back. Like, we want the best for each other, and at the end of the day, and they don't have to question that, and I don't question that. You know what I mean? Because truth be told, there are some friends who act more like family than some of our relatives do.
And said a whole word right there.
Truth be told. So I get that. I get that. But the principle is the same, whether those people are related by blood or not.
Hmm. No, I think that's great. I recall I went to college with a guy, and when him and his wife got married, I remember going to the wedding, and I think they had invited 1,000 people, but there were 800 people there. Just to give you a context. However, let me give you a little background to your point about tribe. His parents and 5 other couples had all known each other since kindergarten.
Mm.
Decided to raise their families together. So you
Mm.
can imagine 6 couples and their children and their spouses and their extended family and their children and their children's children, and this village of these 5 couples who just decided we're going to do life together. And so yes, they all had their families, but they also had created this huge tribe. And so his poor wife, she's the only child. And I just remember going, this is the first time I've ever been to a wedding where the wedding was more about the groom than the bride. But it's
Mm.
because he had this huge community that basically decided we're going to be another family. And so to your point, I think it's powerful because to see all of them grew up together and held them accountable, and they call each other cousins and all that kind of stuff. So
Mhm.
I think it's fantastic. Deidre was like, "You said a word, girl." I know she did. Listen, she was things. Okay. Proverbs of Praise says, "Same. I grew up as an only child and didn't have a huge group of family members my age. I treat my closest friends as family, and we have each other's back." Yeah, I'm
Mhm.
definitely as an only child. My friends are my family, right? So like I have my mother, like I said before, my father's deceased. I have cousins. I have first cousins, but it wasn't a lot of us. And we're very, 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 very different. And so I do view my friends as like my family. So I feel that. Um, let's see what else. Deidre says, I agree with the principle being the same with family. Absolutely. And sometimes I find, and Patricia, this may be a different experience for you because your family is kind of close knit. That it's one thing to do it because we're blood related. It's another thing to do it by choice. Um,
Mhm.
and it's a powerful thing when somebody says, I am committed to doing life with you. I am committed when it's pretty, when it's fun, when it's not, when it's ugly, when it's messy, when it's difficult. But I think with both, it's a level of commitment. Even with family, you have to say, this is my family and I want this kind of relationship. So I'm willing to do the work. What do you think about that?
No, I agree. There are people in my family that I'm close to, and then there are others that I am not as close to them. And I think um, similar blood shouldn't be the only qualifier here. And it's not for me. Like, though I do have a large family, and though we have some level of respect and love for each other, we don't all have relationship with one another. Um, that's like, us saying that we believe in God, but then we don't have a relationship with Him, right? There are family members that I love, and I respect them, and I want the best for them because they're my family, and but I don't have a relationship. But when you got both, I mean, it's like none other. You know what I mean? It's like none other. But you know, blood is not the only qualifier. You know what I mean? We do have to have the relationship element of it as well.
And I think it takes effort. I mean, you and I were talking about that kind of before that. I think anything that you want to cultivate in your life, it's a daily effort, right? It's not a I did it one time, and I think we were talking about this earlier in the broadcast that like self-development and healing and all that is a journey. It's not a one and done. So whether it's with family or family, is like, what am I doing on a continuous basis? There is no end in mind. What am I doing on a continuous basis, on a frequency, even when it's inconvenient, even when it's uncomfortable, because I have decided that this is who I want to be, or this is who I want in my life. And so feminine success, that is goals. I think you're talking about the family with the like the big family with the big tribe. Like, it's crazy. It was a beautiful thing to see. Side note, let me tell y'all, this is such a random fact about that experience. So I was at the wedding, right? And I went to college with the groom. And so I remember, can you imagine being at a wedding with 800 people and there's a money bag? And they were like, me and my friend at the time, my best friend at the time, they were like, can y'all watch the money bag? Nah, like, I don't, I don't want to. You know how much money was probably in there, and but we did. We watched the money bag, but I was like, somebody could roll up and be like, "Yo, give me that money." You know what I'm saying? I just remember being like, I do not want to watch the money bag. Give me something else to do. But that it's just random. That has nothing to do with anything that we're talking about. But I just remember that experience.
That's the kind of atmosphere though that we had in mind when and our tribe is very intentional. Like, we refer to each other as tribe, and that's the type of environment that we wanted to cultivate, because all of us have a big sense of love and respect for community and how important that is, and how as humans, that's definitely something that we need, a sense of belongingness. When you talk about like Maslow's hierarchy of needs and stuff, we're wired that way, and especially as women. But just thinking about like seeing, because a lot of us have kids, some of us have more than others, but just seeing the kids interacting, and because of our relationships, they have a relationship, and then just seeing it sort of continue, and just hearing that like they refer to us as auntie and uncle, and they don't know the difference, like blood versus no blood, you know what I mean? And we have the sort of open environment in that, like, one of the girls that really is like, she's attached to me. And so instead of seeing that as like, like someone might see like, oh, how come my daughter doesn't want to talk to me, but thinking like, oh, there's an openness, and she is gravitating toward the energy of someone else that's in the tribe, and understanding we all have the same sense of, like, our same values, same morals. And so we know that she's being fed no matter where it's coming from. You know what I mean? Because it does take a village. It takes a village. So it's just a beautiful thing to see, and how beneficial it's been to us, but seeing also the possibilities in the next generation is a pretty amazing thing.
No, I you know what? I would agree. Being a child of that. So I was the kid. So my mom has had friends who, you know, at the time I didn't know that we weren't really related. As I got older, I was like, oh, okay, auntie such and such. They're not really related, but that's auntie such and such, right? And being in their kid's wedding because, like, I mean, we loosely say, god brother or god sister or whatever. But
Hmm.
also as an adult, hearing my mom give me a little bit behind the scenes of like if her and I were having an issue, she would be done talk to Auntie Shirley about it, and so Auntie Shirley done came and had a conversation with me, and it sounds completely different coming from Auntie Shirley than it came from my mom, and vice
Hmm.
versa, right? And to your point, knowing that because the values are the same, the morals are the same, the beliefs are the same, that other people could get through to me when my mom couldn't, or when I just was being hard headed or whatever, and vice versa. Even now, as an adult, I still have relationships with these people that outside of my mother, right? Like I'll call my own auntie Shirley and be like, "Let me tell you what's going on," and she be like, right, and still having that wisdom that I did have safe places. Sometimes particularly teenage girls and their mom, when you're trying to define your own identity, you can't talk to your mama about your mama. Um,
Hmm.
and so you need to be able, someone who knows her as an adult, but be able to have a conversation, vice versa, that safe place that's not going to run and tell that. Okay.
Right.
It's going to feed you the medicine you need, and it's coming from a different place. I don't know who I would be without those relationships. And even some of the things that have piqued my interest in life, whether it's hobbies or whatever. Two of my quote unquote godmothers are very into, are you ready for this, Patricia?
Mm.
Interior design and decorating. My mother is not, right? And so we joke and be like, oh, that's from Auntie Tamara or Auntie Shirley or whatever. We'll joke and say, oh, like that is not from me, that is from such and such. And then to see their children pick up things from my mom, you be like,
Hmm.
there's nobody in their family that's like that. They got that from you. It's just a beautiful thing. So being the child, the grown child of what y'all are creating, is fantastic because as a fully grown adult, I'm still reaping the benefits of that intentional choice that she made a long, long time ago. So
Love it. Love it.
Chanel naturally Laura, Lloyd, oh, I can't talk today. Naturally royal. Good. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So listen, ladies, we got about 10 more minutes. Do y'all have any questions, any topics? We are down. I mean, with 10 minutes, I'm pretty sure we can answer some good questions or deep dive something, or any thoughts that have come to your head, or Patricia, anything that's on your mind.
Not anything in particular. I'm just kind of scrolling back to see if there might have been something that we missed. Um, but yeah, let's see if we'll have some questions come in.
But yeah, I mean, I feel like our live streams are always so random. It's so full of I mean, it's just our girl talk. Like, I hope that y'all enjoy these. I hope that you guys find them beneficial. We enjoy them. It's been a blessing to our friendship. This is what I want to say. I want to say, we talked a lot about friendship and relationships today. I want to say, give your friends the gift of intentionality. And without going into a lot of depth, Patricia and I have talked about, there have been some things that have transpired really positively in our own friendship that came out of intentionality and vulnerability. And it's such a gift to be
Mm-hmm.
intentional with your relationships as an adult with other women. To say, hey, let's be this, let's do this, let's connect in this way. Like it's so good. So much so that I have put, I don't want to say my friends on a rotation, but like it's like an unofficial check-in schedule because I wasn't being as intentional as I needed to be. Because
Mm-hmm.
I'll get in my own zone and I'll get in my own life, in my own head, and I'm just do 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 do, and then it's a month, and you be like, oh, I ain't call nobody, and so to be on the receiving end of people being intentional has been amazing. So if you have people in your life and you haven't been intentional with them and cultivating the relationship, listen, they will love it. Um, is it K Shell 104 says loyalty is everything to me. I can totally relate.
Also another thing I want to mention about friendships, um, and if this is creepy, let me know. Um, but you know how when you see a guy from across the room and you're just like, oh, okay, what's your name? Like, from afar, you're like, oh, what's your name? Because you cute. Um, I have found that, um, and some women may act on it or not, you know what I mean? But I found that that same sort of thought should be given to, women and friends that I meet in my life. You come across someone and you're like, oh, I just like her. I don't know her, but something about her I like. You know what I mean? Or I think we would be cool. And, there is nothing wrong with initiating conversation and trying to cultivate and develop a relationship and a connection in that way. Because just like, while they say that there are plenty of fish in the sea, not all them fish are for you. And I feel the same way about, women. And if you come across someone that you like and that you vibe with, and you guys are about the same things and have similar goals in life and similar values, reach out to her. Whether it's, there's this one particular young lady for whatever reason, and I don't want to bring her up because she actually could be watching this video, because I want to do it first before that, because I'm not there yet. Or not there yet, I just haven't done it yet. But I just from afar, I feel like she's just so beautiful. She's just a kind person, just a sweet spirit from like the little I've experienced about her. We seem to have similar values or whatever. And before this whole pandemic, I told Joshua because he knows her in passing. And so I was like, hey, what do you know about this girl? Like, I don't know. I just feel like I want to reach out to her and like ask if she wants to go grab a cup of coffee. Like, you know what I mean?
Friend date, you know what I mean?
Ask for a friend day. And the reason why I bring this up is because, we talked a lot about community in this chat. Um, and a lot of this isn't just gonna come. Like honestly, if you don't have this a community, pray for that, right? But a lot of it is gonna take some intentionality to just DM someone. That's what I'm about to do, this girl, because I don't have her number. But I'm friends with her on social media, and just DM her like, hey, I know you're in the area. Like, you want to go grab some coffee, or we're having a dinner party at the house. Can you want to bring you and bring your husband, or whatever it is, and just have some intentionality about getting connected to those people you feel like vibe with you, like can vibe with you. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and filling them out. I mean, that's how you and I became friends. Um, I think you reached out to me. I'm pretty. Let me just say this. Even though I can't remember, I'm actually almost certain that you did because I'm still working on that muscle. I think about 50 Success who's been on the chat. We met at a business conference like in 2016, and then started following each other on social media. And so, to the person who says I struggle with initiating convo, I just started adding value. So I knew what she did for a living, and at the time, she only told me she was an urban gardener. So I was just sending her like if I saw a cute meme, if I saw something funny, if I saw something of value that I thought would interest her. And then over time, it progressed. And then I remember the day where I was like, we probably should be cool. And I think she was the one who was like, you want to I think we used to do like Facebook video, like Messenger. I think that's how we started. So I think you're right about test the waters, invite somebody out on a friend date. Now I will say this: I've had people that I've seen try to do that to me, and I already knew that we weren't a fit. Like they were they liked me, but I could tell that we weren't going to be a good fit, and so like I didn't accept the invitation. And I was honest with one particular lady I remember, really really nice, and I think I could like her, except for I am a very introverted friends. She was extremely extroverted. I have extroverted friends, but I knew that the level of attention that she needed from me, I wouldn't be able to give her. And I told her that. I said, I really like you and I think we could be cool. But I also think that what you're desiring, the way I'm wired, I would hurt your feelings consistently. Um, and so we're cool, but we didn't become like friends, right? So, and that's okay too. Like, there's people that I was like, I like them. And they probably either their life may not have had the bandwidth or they were like, yeah, but listen, it don't hurt to try. Um, let's see here. K Shell says this was a great convo, ladies. Um, let's see here. Deidre says, Patricia and Evelyn, I enjoyed the replay of Princess versus Queen. It reminded me of the daily conversations with my ladies. Listen, y'all need to watch that replay. It's all the things. So I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Ooh, Chanel, girl,
She gonna ask a question like that when we got 2 minutes left.
let me tell you. You want to answer it first, or you want me to go first, or you want to save it? You tell me what you want to do.
Ooh. Well, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, to answer your question, have you touched on being intentional in your faith? Not in these broadcasts, we haven't. I think maybe 2 years ago, I did a video about healthy habits or religious rules. I will say this: anything in your life that you need to cultivate needs to have routines and habits around it. Not because those things guarantee anything, but they set the environment and create the space um, for those relationships to grow. So, for example, one of the things I'm going to be talking about coming up on my channel is like, that any area of your life that you want to be successful, for lack of a better phrase, needs a system. And I've realized in my own life that the areas that are what I believe to be fairly strong, whether intentional or not intentional, there's some kind of system there. And then the areas that are weak, there's either no system, an old system, or a broken down system. So, for example, I feel like my faith has come a long way. I don't think there's any such thing as perfection, but I do feel like my faith has come a long way. But that started with a decision. And then it started with cultivating that relationship. So, for example, I remember being in my 20s, early in my 20s. I think I had just graduated from college. And I grew up in the church. But I remember like having this conversation with myself saying, I want to be a real Christian. And that was the only thought I had. I remember consciously thinking I want to be a real Christian, meaning I don't want to be somebody who just goes to church, just reads my Bible, but my life, my actions, my deeds, my thoughts, or whatever don't line up with what I say I believe. And I remember making that decision and then trying to cultivate a life on what does that mean? What does that look like? And so, for example, I think I tread lightly when I share what I do to cultivate my faith because I don't want it to come across like you have to do X, Y, and Z. That there's um, like a formula. But I will say this: I look at it like this: anything that I want to grow, cultivate has a routine. For example, the way you earn money has a system, right? Whether it's daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually, right? So whether it's you get up and you go to work every day and then, you have an annual review or whatever, there's a system on how you are successful in that area. So for me, I do have a daily spiritual practice. I do have a weekly spiritual practice. I do have a monthly spiritual practice. I do have things that I do annually to help me be intentional and cultivate that area of my life, knowing that that's a lifestyle, not okay, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna get to this point and then I'm good. And I hope I'm making sense. And I don't know if this is what you meant, but this is what I mean by being intentional with my faith, that you can't have a relationship with anybody or anything that you don't talk to on a regular, that you don't interact with on a regular, that you don't spend time with on a regular, that you don't want to hear what they have to say, understand them. And so for me, it's like How do I do that every day, every week, a couple times a month, monthly, every year? Patricia, I mean, so I'm in my thoughts there. What do you think? What are your
Yeah.
thoughts?
No, I think really the most in the operative word really is intentionality. And like Evelyn, I really don't like to get into the sort of specifications like what that looks like. I think is different for every person. And I know that I've learned in my own spiritual walk that there's sort of, especially if you grow up in a church environment, you sort of non-traditional ways of cultivating your relationship with God, and that it doesn't have to look a certain way. Um, I remember, can I use this example? I remember I was with someone, a church member, and so she was asking, like, oh, how come you're not, um, you know, eating with us? When I'm like, oh, I'm fasting today. And then that was the end of my statement. It wasn't like, this is what I'm fasting for, this is how I'm fasting. She didn't know if I was fasting from what she was giving me or if I was fasting from food in general. I just said, I'm fasting today. And her response was, well, I hope you're doing it like this because it needs to be like this to be the most powerful, most impactful. So you get up in the morning, and she just ran through the list of what impactful fasting was. And I let her talk, but I don't do that to others because a relationship is just that. Even a parent, a loving, healthy parent will tell you it is difficult to treat two people, two children the same because they're different. And I feel like, um, God being our Father will has a different relationship with us all, and it doesn't look the same, and it doesn't have to. And so, but there are things that I sort of can suggest to you, right? And that is developing a good prayer life. And again, what that looks like for people may be different. Because, I grew up in a space where it began with Dear Heavenly Father and ended with Amen. What I realized is prayers don't actually have to be in that format. They can be written, they can be spoken. It can be, Lord, please help me because I feel like I'm going to get there. That's a prayer. You know what I'm saying? That's seeking his face in that moment. And so don't uh, allow others or even yourself to sort of pressure yourself in being that it has to look a certain way and be in a certain format, but figuring out where you how is best for you to seek the Lord. If it's in a closet, if it's in a corner at the window in your bedroom, if it's in your little rocking chair in, I don't know, the nursery, I don't know, but creating a regimen that works best for you. So developing a prayer life, I think, is definitely an important element. Um, and then also getting to know his character through his word is another element of it. But like I said, I don't want to get too much in the specifications, but realizing that it is intentional, and then finding essentially what works for you and him. You know, that's how I see that.
Yes. I love it. So, okay, we'll take these last two questions. K-Shell 104 says, what are your thoughts on close friends and family not calling each other to check on each other during the pandemic? Well, I got some thoughts about that because we've touched on that before. Um,
Mhm.
Deidre says, I agree. Holy Spirit shared with me things I had to unlearn by growing up in the church. The Lord deals with each child differently. I agree. Um, Patricia, I'm gonna start this one off. Thoughts about this one. Now, K Shell, I don't know what your real name is, so I'm just gonna call you Shell. Um, if you're here, I'm assuming either you're subscribed to Patricia or you're subscribed to me. Maybe not. Maybe this is your first time. It is welcome. I'm gonna put a disclaimer here that I'm probably out of the two of us, I lean more towards the tough love side. And so I say what I'm about to say to you, I say with love. I'm gonna do my best. Okay. I have very strong thoughts and feelings about this. So this came up in one of our previous lives about friends and family not calling each other to check on each other during the pandemic. I think the answer to your question is in the question, meaning it's a pandemic. So there was this tweet meme going around that was like, you'll know who your real friends and family are by who's calling you during the pandemic. And that implies that the people on the other end are also not going through a pandemic.
Hmm.
So I'm saying this generally. This may not apply to you, but I'm just saying this generally. I feel like, particularly in Western culture, we have this what about me? Did you think about me? How are you serving me? What are you doing? What have you done for me lately? Give me what I want mindset. And it's like, if you miss your friends and family and they have not called you, call them. Listen, I'm gonna tell you right now. I have had two people I know. One person lose a father, one person lose a sister. Not necessarily to COVID, but to other things. I've had friends have other health challenges, relationship challenges, all throughout the pandemic. And had I sat around and said, I can't believe they haven't called me or checked on me, not knowing what they had going on. I have friends who are extreme extroverts who are struggling right now,
Mm.
and they're trying to stay in place, and they're on the edge. There are people who have mental illness that they probably didn't even know they have because they've never sat still long enough to know that they got some stuff that they're not dealing with, who are at home in a pandemic. Some people aren't getting paid. Some people have had to lay people off. Some people can't visit their family. So this notion of I should be at the top of your list in the middle of a pandemic and you should be reaching out to me, checking on me, is a little, in my opinion, I'm not saying that's what you're saying because you're just asking in general, but I think the people who feel like you should be calling me is a little self-serving and a little like, well, y'all, we in a pandemic. Like everybody's going through their own thing. I know for me, I may not be initially. I wasn't like outwardly stressed, but because I'm an introvert, the way my like, oh my god, this is something that nobody on planet Earth at the moment has ever lived through was to buy a whole bunch of food and cook all the time, right? And so that may not have seemed stressful to somebody else, but I was over here eating all the carbs, okay, and all the bread, and just baking and waking up in the middle of the night. Didn't know I was stressed, but I was, and so the thought of let me call everybody else wasn't there because I was trying to keep my own head above water. So I think it's okay to desire people to want to call you and check up on you. And when that thought crosses your mind, call them. It Relationships are a two-way street. And if it's just like, I don't know why people aren't calling me and I don't know why nobody's checked on me and they must really not care about I guarantee you that's probably the furthest thing from their mind. People got their own lives, and we can love people and be loyal to people and they can still not be at the top of our priority list, right? Um and what I realized is some of the people that either I didn't reach out to or didn't reach out to me, some did, some didn't, we hadn't really cultivated on that level anyway. So I mean, that was a little bit of a rant, so I hope you felt the love in that, which is like, hey, just if it comes to your mind, you call them, and then that it squashes all of that. Okay, Patricia.
Yeah. No, I'm reading her commentary. Yeah, she kept seeing that meme. That's why she asked.
Oh yeah.
Um, I agree. I agree with you, Evelyn, 100%. And what I have found though is the ones where we was cool like that anyway. Um, in many ways, we've gotten closer, or anyway, during this time. And there are people that did show up, and like somebody hit me up the other day, was like, I haven't spoken to them in a while, and they were like, hey, let's do a lunch date where we just kind of like FaceTime and eat lunch together. You know what I mean? And it was so cute. It was so fun. We talked about books that we're reading and a bunch of things. Um, but what I'm saying is I feel like those true people will stay there, and the people that probably won't come around right now, maybe I wasn't like that to begin with, but at the end of the day, it shouldn't be a measurement of the relationship. And I think that's like the bottom line. Because this is a pandemic, this is a an exception. Whatever it was, this is the exception.
Right.
All right, you know what
All
I'm saying?
exceptions.
You know what I mean? And so, people are allowed to be prioritizing their family if somebody's not working now, and they have to make sure everybody's they might not have the energy or the time to pick pick the phone, call you when they're desperately trying to apply for jobs that aren't hiring right now. Like, you know what I mean? This is, people who are traditionally in school having to adjust to being online, and it's a big adjustment for them. So it's taking more work, more paperwork, more writing, more whatever it is. Understanding that everyone's life has changed on some level, right? Some more than others. And this is outside of, never mind people losing people during this time. Everyone's life is changing, right? Everybody's at home. Kids are at home. They become teachers now, not just parents, but teachers on top of it, and working from home in the same space. Can you imagine? I don't have kids, but having to like teach them and work and get work done like in the same space, in the same, that I can't imagine those challenges. And for them to still have time to pick up the phone and call me, listen, sis, I want you to be great. You need to give 100% into that right now, right? I'll be here on the other side praying for you while I'm over here. You know what I'm saying? And so allowing people the space to prioritize other things in their life and know that it's not a measurement. Trying not to use this pandemic as a measurement for the depth of the friendship or the validity of the friendship. That's the only thing that I feel like we should be careful in not doing.
I love it. I think you summed it up perfectly. It's not a measurement, and I think in general, that's a dangerous territory because that goes back to giving people grace and space.
Mhm.
That they have their whole own lives and things going on. So yes, Deidre says um, everyone's life has changed in some way during this time. Everybody. Some for the better, some not for the better. So but that was a great question. So with that, ladies, this has been fantastic. I thank you guys for all your questions. If you've missed any of our broadcasts, there's replays on Patricia's channel, there's replays on my channel. Listen, get you a snack and dive in. We talked about the things. Um, Patricia, I know you probably got some videos coming out soon.
I do.
Mhm.
Um, Monday at 3 p.m. is when the next one goes live.
Love it. I love it. I have it. What's today? Tuesday. So I think my video is coming out on Thursday. I don't know which one I'm releasing yet. I got a couple, but
Hmm.
check them out. And we're gonna go because somebody's getting text messages. I have
Sorry.
to go on a call all the way. Okay, Shell says I have a husband and kids, but I reach out to my friends once a week. That's great. That's great. Says thank you, ladies. It was our pleasure. Anything before we go, Patricia?
Listen, y'all, it's crazy out there. Life is different right now, but realize no matter what the situation is, you are blessed. That's what I have to say.
This is good. So we will see y'all. Patricia, are we gonna do this every week, every other week? We gonna figure it out. Maybe next.
We need to strive for every week. We need to do this every week. We do.
Okay, we gonna work on it, y'all. We gonna work it out. But
Yes.
subscribe to both of our channels and have your notifications turned on. So we might just pull up on you and you might not even know. You know what I'm saying?
And follow on Instagram because that will help too.
Absolutely. All right, y'all. Have a good night and we'll see you next time.